And welcome everybody to, once again, the State of the Onion. This week is series The Smell of Onion. Dun dun dun. And as you can see this week, we've got a varied and variety panel, including, of course, our very own expert, the Italian expert. Fabio, welcome Fabio.
Hello.
Thank you. There you go. Hello. And of course, everybody knows Fabio's law. Fabio, you're an idiot today.
Yeah.
Great,
What?
thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought I'd jump that on you straight away. I also welcome Serb to the panel, as always, one of our regulars. And this week, Headless Chicken. Welcome.
Hey.
Blast from the past. Thank you very much for coming on. And of course, I'd like to pass it over without further ado to our host extraordinaire, the one and only Mr. Xbox Fiend. Welcome, welcome. And
Hey.
what do we have planned for this week? As if I didn't know.
Well, are we a Jimi Hendrix experience?
Nice.
We kind of jumping off from last week, what we got into kind of towards the end there, right? Like, how do you know other minds exist? How do you know the external world exists? How do you know experience exists? And in philosophy, that's a variety of what's called solipsism, right? Like, so there's metaphysical solipsism, there's epistemic solipsism, there's just straight up hard solipsism, which it's you can get stuck in a hole in these and never get out. Anybody else want to throw any ideas on the top of the definitions I'm giving there?
What about the definitions? I think we would get more done as a society if we adopted solipsistic arguments. Right? Because, I mean, someone's going to be arguing that there's a God or there isn't a God. And if the opponent was just like, prove to me you're real, then we'll get to that second question.
Perfect.
And we can focus on real things.
Right. That's actually, a lot of philosophers just, either sidestep the problem, step over the problem. Some deal with the problem, but don't get stuck in the loop of it, which is, are we stuck in a dream? You wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you were stuck in a dream right now. There's no way to tell until you wake up. That's one of the holes you can get stuck in. I think we were talking about simulation theory last week, which is a little different. And I learned that it's a little different, but I think there is a version of how you can render an argument or a definition of solipsism where it is a simulation. But I'm pretty sure that Fabio doesn't have a mind.
Yeah, that might be true.
And I know Headless doesn't, because Headless is just
Headless by definition doesn't. Of
right.
course. Yeah.
I think mind's a verb, so I guess I don't have one either.
What does that mean? Minds are a verb?
Yeah, I think mind is a verb, actually. I think it's something the brain does.
Ah, I see, yes.
Oh, like it emerges from the brain? Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people take that stance, and that's what I say the external world is another part of the problem. How can you know the external world is actually there, and you're not just um, being controlled by a evil demon or a mad scientist just tweaking your brain in a jar to make you see that the external world's here?
Yeah, see, I don't think they go far enough, though. I think really you can doubt yourself. You could doubt that your experience, like your personal existence,
Mm-hmm.
is actually just like being narrated by a different being. Like you don't actually exist.
Right. That's actually what the whole problem's based on is skepticism, right? Like
Yeah.
you go full skepticism and you end up with no brain.
Oh,
Hey, Mark,
it's
glad you could
Yeah.
join us.
yeah. I just got up, so it's good to be here. Thank you. It's good to see you.
Kind of. Is he cutting out a little bit for you?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Am I?
breaking up for me too.
What?
It sounded cool, like another language, but
So the fact that you're cutting out for two people, does that kind of improve the chances that solipsism is true? Just I don't know.
well, that's the
Does
thing.
does
We
the
kind of talk,
external world prove solipsism? How about that for a dilemma?
No.
right?
What
If you
external world?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, you can skip it, right? Like the you always hear Matt Dillahunty. I hate quoting him, but he goes that I'm not oh, what's it called? Forget his actual phrasing. It's pretty much I don't have the hubris to say that I've written every good poem that's
Yeah.
out there and every great book that's out there, well, that doesn't actually address the problem. That's sidestepping the problem.
Mm.
Like you have dreams, right? And in your dreams, other people exist.
I've seen
Essentially,
some
like they
pretty
don't.
good movies in my dreams. Like really, I would have paid to go and see some of the dreams that I've had in my lifetime. Like seriously.
Right? Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah. Perfect.
Hmm. So, just to say, I know you went through these definitions, but I think I was a bit too trying to do something else. So, metaphysical solipsism being, what was that one?
It's. I'll give you just the Wikipedia for quickly. I could go to the Stanford one, but you're gonna end up with the long definition. So this will condense it down. It's a variety of idealism that asserts that nothing exists externally to one's mind.
Nothing.
Since that would make your mind the only thing
Right.
in existence.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem with that is, how do you know that you get in the epistemic problem? How do you know that mind even exists?
Hmm.
Yes. So it's like the Descartes. I think therefore I am cognito. Ergo sum. I think he overreaches in assuming the I in that thing. I think that's
Exactly.
a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and most people that know me know I acclaim as a epistemic solipsist. That experience, period. Just or experience is happening. I don't want to use it as a verb, but experience is that, and then try to build from there. And
Well,
I
I
think you
think you can
can.
make. Well, I think you can make the argument that something exists, right? That there has to be a reality without any sort of definition or any kind of attributes put on that reality, right? There's got to be something.
Right. Yeah, that would work as well. It's just, how do you argue that or substantiate that something exists? Like, what kind of argument would you put forward for it? And same for what I said as well. If you say experience exists, what's the argument I can put forward for that? And
Well, you just have to presuppose it, really. There's nothing much else you can do.
But
yeah, that's one. Yeah, this is one way to actually absolutely.
That's what I do. I just presuppose my senses are correct for a given, a set level of accuracy. Of course, they're not 100% accurate, but they're describing something real, or fundamentally real, and that sort of the logical absolutes are valid. And as long as they keep working, then it's kind of that presupposition's always out of necessity, right? You don't have a choice.
Yeah,
because I don't have anything else to draw back on.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about it 2 weeks ago or something like that, about how I do the same, but I use faith in there as part of it, and we talked about it a little bit, but I use faith before my presuppositions. My presuppositions make up rationality. Rationality,
Right.
I can map
Faith in
the
what?
world. Faith in
Faith
my
in-
presuppositions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But do your presuppositions hold any chance that they're untrue?
No, they can't be untrue, and they can't be forget the term, but they can't be changed ever.
Falsified?
Yeah. Hey, Gus, by the way.
Yeah, hey, actually.
Introduce Gus in here.
Is that the word you're looking for, falsified?
Well, no, because
Well, I'm
when
asking
I make a
actually.
presup,
I'm asking
sorry.
actually. Xbox.
Yeah.
Never mind. We're moving right along. Hey, Fabio, what's up, buddy?
Hey man, how you doing? Glad to
Anyways.
see you.
Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Oh no, you were fine if you had something to
No.
say.
You were struggling for a word there, and I tried to hand it to you, but you were, I don't know, looking at your chickens or something. I don't know what happened.
Oh, it was right when Mark was talking, so I thought you were talking to him.
Oh boy.
So I just wanted to question something about the potentiality. I mean, this is just a question. I'm not asserting anything here.
Better
Which
not
just to be clear. So the ergo sum, cognito ergo sum. You're right. It doesn't. The presupposition in it, I guess, is that there is existence, right? And not just that, though. That is one of the presuppositions in it that there is some kind of Platonic existence, because it could be the thought that thoughts themselves are abstract objects, i.e., it's a mindless body. And if it's not a Platonic kind of object, then does it mean that it's dualism? Well, it can't be dualism. Idealism is true.
Well, I don't get what you mean by Platonic. Like, what do you mean Platonic object? Like, why would it make it a Platonic object?
Well, because they don't have a real existence in terms of.
Well, no, that's not necessarily the case.
Existence
I mean, you could
in reality.
have
Platonic objects don't exist in reality. They're a construct.
But I don't get why that would be necessitated, because you could have
it's not necessitated. Sorry, I didn't use that word. I said, is it a necessitation that it would be the case, given that it could be an abstract object? Right, because you couldn't tell whether it is or is not an abstract object. Well, you could say it's not an abstract object, because presumably, if solipsism is true, then idealism is true.
Solipsism is true, then idealism is true.
Yeah.
It's actually
all there is mind.
It's a variety of idealism, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I think so. And also that these minds could be Platonic objects, abstract objects. So Platonism small p Platonism would be true as well, presumably. That's where my mind goes when I think of the ergo sum. Is that not a possibility, right? How could you discount that, right? And if not discount it, then at least at minimum say that that must be probably the most likely contender for the state of the world. In which case, we're talking about potentially solipsism being, a reality, which kind of undermines the ergo sum, right? To me, right? So this is one of the problems I have with it when people say, "Yeah, I can know this to be the case." I'm not sure you can, okay, because of these objections. Anyway, carry on. I just wanted to raise that as a potential problem in talking about the ergos.
Yeah, you kind of run into the epistemic problems, the epistemic rebuttals to it. Talking about baby seals in the chat.
Yeah, this is Kevin.
That's
Hello,
awesome.
Kevin.
I saw you had ultimated in the chat earlier. Lucky
Is that
you.
really?
Apparently so.
Oh yeah, there we go. By
Yep.
chat.
He rang in the line recently. If you haven't seen it, it is hilarious.
Yes, I think I did.
Talked to Matt Delahunty and Forrest Valkai, and it was
Speaking of which,
hilarious.
What was hilarious about it?
Well, I mean, they started out with just general sort of stuff, got onto his relationship with God. That was hilarious. He claimed that zero didn't exist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so he was doing anything to avoid like saying zero I won't give it away. Anyway, it's hilarious. It's quite funny. It is quite funny.
Zero doesn't exist. That's pretty funny. That sounds kind of like the way the ancient Romans used to do math. If you ever try to do math using Roman numerals, I'm sorry, Fabio, but that's the fucking route straight to madness.
It is.
Ever try to do math using Roman, like they and this is something that, because I was part of sort of a last cohort of kids that they taught certain things that would otherwise be useless in school.
Mhm.
Part of my education in math involved doing math with Roman numerals. And boy, oh boy, thank God the Roman legions are snappy dressers, because I would have fucking hated you ancient Romans for the rest of my goddamn life because of that. I'll tell you right now. Oh, let me see here. MCXXLXXDI divided by LXX. Just crucify me now. Just right now.
what are you saying? You've never been to a good toga party?
Listen, they don't do math at a toga party. Like if you went to a toga party where all they did was math with Roman numerals, you got cheated. You were lied to. Okay? There's two things that's supposed to happen at a toga party, and mathematics isn't one of them.
I don't know.
Hey, I wanted to address the audience. Or GeoSam had made a comment about solipsism seems inconsistent with shared experiences, and I just kind of wanted to address it real quick. If you, it goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. If you imagine a dream and you've populated your dream with other people, they're going to do things to you and say things to you that aren't coming, from your thoughts. And take that same as a metaphor or an example and map it onto the real world as the same thing happening. People could just be walking around mindless, acting as if they have minds. They could be, putting money in vending machines, driving cars. Yeah, a lot of
Well, the problem is confirming that shared experience, right? The problem is like, sort of, okay, I talk to Xbox and he says, yeah, I experience the same thing. If that's a sort of fantasy or a very persistent, very real illusion, then that doesn't prove it at all.
Yeah, there's actually no answer to solipsism, hard solipsism. It's been however many hundreds and I don't know thousands of years that people have contemplated the issue. Like there's no actual solution to it. That's why I was mentioning at the first. You can get stuck in it. It's one of those things. Math has problems like this too that you can just get stuck in, and for the rest of your life, constantly try to solve it, and you're never going to get an answer.
Very much so. Infinities.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of fine with the pragmatic approach, but I think that I at least acknowledge that it could be true. There's a possibility it could be true because I can't definitively prove opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. I don't.
That's great. That's a great way to approach, especially philosophy and philosophical problems. Is to actually address them, and you can find ways around them like that don't just ignore them. I think ignoring them leads to some bad philosophy from people and things like that.
Right, so is that a form of epistemic solipsism then you're talking about?
Just hard solipsism. Hard solipsism, I think, is more of a whatchamacallit. I'm losing my words tonight.
No, what I mean is, solipsism, your position is solipsism can't be shown to be false, but you don't think it's true.
Right. Yeah. What we were just talking about was pretty much epistemic solipsism.
Right, it is. Okay. I just want to put the right word on it because I can. Yeah,
most of the time I've ever been captured by philosophers and forced to have a philosophical discussion, I've usually gotten them to admit that there's no easy defeater for hard solipsism. In some cases, they say there's no defeater at all for it. So, I usually
haven't talked to a precept lately.
Right, yeah, that's a good point to make.
The last one I talked to a precept, we didn't even go to hard. So I actually got to talk to Saitem Bruggencate once, and I broke him. He fell apart. There was some crying. He said, "Tell me one thing that you know for certain." I said, "I'm not your god." He said, "Well, how do you know that?" I said, "Because I'd never dreamed up somebody like you. You're nothing but a torture for somebody like me." And suddenly there was no more talking, and I was all by myself.
Proving solipsism.
Wait,
right? And that's actually a question just came in. If you say it's, I think it was to Mark that saying that it could be true. Prove that, or demonstrate
what could be true. Demonstrate what?
Yeah, I guess that you're the only mind.
Oh, I'm not saying that we are. That's the thing. But you sort of, what did you ask? Like, what about shared experience? And I'm saying that shared experience can't prove it because if the world is illusory around you, then that's not shared experience. That's the whole point. You're sort of assuming that it's a shared experience because your senses and your sort of, ideas of logic are sort of leaning you that way. But what we're talking about is proof that hard solipsism is not true, and shared experience doesn't help you because if hard solipsism is true, there is no shared experience. Does that make sense?
You've made up the people that you're sharing your experience with.
Yeah.
Oh, look!
Demonstrate that solipsism could be true. Yeah, it could be true. I don't see why it's logically impossible. I don't think it's true, but I don't see why it's logically impossible. If the sensors in your head are simply electrical inputs, like it's more than possible that the inputs into your head are nothing but signals that somebody has made up. I mean, I don't know how you get around that one. Of course, it's possible.
Yeah, by which you mean logically possible, presumably.
No, it's epistemically possible as well.
Yeah, metaphysically as well.
Sure.
It's when he's asked for a demonstration. I think
Well,
when he's
I
asked,
never
when
said,
he's
I never said it was true.
yeah, but when you're asking for a demonstration that it could be true, what you want to say is there's nothing, logically speaking, that makes it impossible. So therefore, it's because solipsism isn't saying that there is only mind. It's saying it's the only
Right.
thing you can be sure of.
Your
Right.
own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just
Right.
like to welcome Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Hello, thank you.
Tonight's topic is: Are we a Jimmy Hendrix? Could we be? I should have said really, but I was using writer's liberty to say: Are we a Jimi Hendrix experience? By which I, of course, I meant: Are we a figment of someone's imagination? Yours.
By the way, Jefferson, I just recently discovered what spatchcocking a chicken is, and I'm going to be watching you.
I do it
Hey,
all the
Jeff.
time. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that one,
It's
Simon.
good to see you, mate.
Good to see you.
Yeah, here there's someone named Daryl, Daryl Frost, in the audience asking, doesn't the scientific method disprove solipsism?
Nope.
And what you're essentially asking is, if you are the only mind in existence, could science prove that you are the only mind? And it couldn't. If you weren't the only mind, could it prove it? No, because we don't have access to people's inner subjectivity.
And science relies on empiricism to be true, for a start. That your senses are describing something in the real world. It relies on that heavily. So, yeah.
And I wish it did. I wish there was a way that science had an answer for it. Like it'd be nice.
Yeah, science is pretty far down the line. You have like Mariology, and you have a bunch of stuff in between solipsism and getting to science.
Yeah, I don't think you could with you can't. I mean, you couldn't get past solipsism with empiricism, because solipsism is kind of it's in the realm of rationalization. So yeah, anything that you're doing with some kind of empirical exercise is just kind of, it'll settle in within the category of something that solipsism just doesn't entertain or doesn't satisfy.
There's the assumption in the scientific process that there is something other than your mind to start with.
Sure.
So it assumes solipsism is false.
Right. That's the way some people go about just getting past it and not dealing with it. Like, I think you should wrestle with it and figure out that you can't solve it, or like I said, it's a real high chance you can't solve it, but maybe there is a chance. But you should wrestle with it for a while to understand it.
Everybody's encountered it before. It's essentially just the Matrix. That's all it is, really, except if the Matrix was just one person. Everybody's encountered the problem before.
Right. Yeah. I almost brought the Matrix example up earlier when I was talking about simulation, because it's a little bit different. But the Matrix is a good example for thinking that the evil demon is the machine world, having you plugged into a machine, and you're walking around in the normal world just like everything's going fine.
I mean, you can use all all three Matrix movies are basically like a crash course in Western philosophy as Star Wars. That's sort of what they're meant for. It's just Western philosophy crammed into an action film, between like the hero's journey all the way into Hegelian idealism. It's That's sort of the point of the movies. Like they even, I mean, the fact that the second and third movie dissect and dismantle the first movie, like that. That's the point of those movies, is to kind of do that. So,
As long
Not
as
to
we
mention they had some Christian theology jammed in there as well. Let's not forget that.
as long as we get the doors that go shh.
The Star Trek stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No. I think
It kind of
solipsism is
undermines that doors when you find out that it's a couple of guys behind them just pulling at them.
Yeah. Again, the best
Although it
joke
does make
in
it does make
Airplane
it-
2 is them going through the door going shh, shh, and then he goes to it and it doesn't work, and he goes, why don't my doors go shh?
well, that's built on a bit of a joke. It's too, because one of the ways the set directors used to like to get back at Shatner when he was being a pain in the ass in the original series is when he was supposed to walk through the doors and he was being a bit of a dick. They wouldn't always open the doors, so it's just like, don't shout.
and let me throw out there that hard solipsism isn't something that you really have to argue with someone about. This is just something
That depends.
should argue with yourself. Like I really doubt there is an actual hard solipsist out there, and they're maybe in some mental wards or something, but like they're not walking around the world practicing hard solipsism.
You'd say that, but I mean, there's guys like Darth Dawkins who would argue with everybody and try to turn them into a walking hard solipsist, just for practice. That's kind of what he does. So,
Yeah, there's ways around that, though.
I don't think he likes to leave his opponents that coherent, frankly.
Because he doesn't like to talk about hard solipsism. Every time somebody brings it up, he's like, "No, I'm not talking about hard solipsism."
Well, he doesn't like to talk about if he had a heart attack and he was in the middle of a couple of rounds with you, he wouldn't like to talk about his fucking chest pain. Like this guy's like once
Totally
you're
true.
on the train, you're on the train. You go where the train wants you to go, or you get off the train.
Sorry.
So, oh, that's all right. You know,
you're on your way to what for
to the wreck. Like,
Gospel of John or something?
No,
what do you think,
well, maybe John the Baptist, but you're on your way at 100 miles an hour to the site of the train crash is where you're going.
Sure, yeah.
So
he's always a lot of fun. It's always a disaster zone with him.
I
love listening to his questions and stuff. Like, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna take us? And it's always the same place. I'm like, oh,
yeah. The problem is that he's horrifically abusive, and he's got a cadre of young men who think that that's what Christianity is supposed to be, orbiting.
Owning the atheists, yeah. Let's get these atheists.
That's because these guys, they weren't none too fucking bright to begin with. They decided to grab a hold of Jesus because somebody told them Jesus would answer all their friggin' problems. And oh no, the atheists, the people around them that were smarter than just as smart as they were or smarter than before, are still just as smarter than they were, and even worse because now they've got all those Jesus questions they can't answer.
We got
so
change the story, guys. They grabbed a hold of Jesus by the Jiu-Jitsu and
they can't. So they can't figure out what to do. So they figure, hey, here's this guy who basically just makes all the questions seem like they're just asked because they're assholes, right? Those atheists are just asking questions because they're assholes. And once you put it in that way, once you get Rambo Jesus in there to fix everybody's little red wagon, then that's how you do it, right? Like this is and this is my problem. That plus the fact that in his earlier days, I've seen him, absolutely go machetes in the night on people, and it's just like I have a thing about bullies, and it just every single goat I have, it gets up. So and I will say this openly, and I don't care who knows it. He is one of the few exceptions that I would have to the don't dox anybody thing. I think that guy should be doxed and doxed some more. That's what I think. And frankly, I think people I think people who keep him around as a lol's cow should be ashamed of themselves. There, I've said it.
Sorry, who?
Never mind.
Darth Dawkins.
Darth
Come on.
Oh, Darth. Gary Milne, you mean? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, quite him. The pride of Jersey.
I'm feeling a little bit bad because I mine his content from my content. So
Well, you're not the only one that does, and I mean, you do what you want to do, but I mean, I don't. Part of the reason that he gets oxygen is because people listen to reasonable people like you put this guy up as a joke, and then while he's bouncing around from different content creator, it's the idiots that that happen to catch a whiff of him, right? Like this is how he's kept alive, when really what he should be done is isolated into his own little corner of the internet and kept there.
yeah, I don't know if it could ever happen. It would be interesting if it did, but I don't think it could, because he's in too many. I mean, there's too many of these guys that are out there that are doing this kind of stuff, the kind of cage stage Calvinist bullshit, precept crap. So, I mean, I agree with you. It would be cool if they could be isolated, but I don't think he's not really the only one.
Well, don't kid yourself. Darth Dawkins is absolutely unique in what he does.
I think that if he couldn't do what he does, he would literally implode and sort of create a black hole of hate and misery that would engulf the entire world.
He can suck in anything else useless with him.
Hey, can we stop talking about our imaginary friend, though? Let's we can prove Darth Dawkins is real. I don't want to hear about it.
Okay,
That's right.
Just one
I
thing
wish he wasn't
real. I'm
real.
still trying to figure out if
wish.
you're real.
Just one thing
That's
I will
perfect,
say,
Darth.
which is there's a fantastic video on Darwin's Greatest Hits of Darth Dawkins talking, and then exactly copying Greg Bonson, not just word for word, but tone for tone, inflection for inflection. So when you say nobody else could do it, no, he is a Greg Bonson wannabe. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
When I think
On Greg
Jeff and I were
Greg Bonson's worst day, he would never do to people what Darth Dawkins has done to people.
Yeah, maybe.
Has anyone ever told Darth that when an old gentleman surrounds himself with nothing but young yes men, that's kind of homosexual?
And welcome to Holy
Don't want to
Speckle
lose you, Holy Spackle.
in the chat. Oh, good. I'm glad you noticed. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Someone should tell Jesse Lee Peterson that.
I wanted
You
to mention
love me.
Jeff, I think it was you that we were talking about how Precept has actually pushed some atheists into, well, not Jesus, they've pushed them past Jesus into solipsism almost.
But we
How do you mean? Could you explain?
No,
that?
they've made them question their epistemology so much that they actually get them questioning whether they exist, and not stopping at Jesus existing, right, where they want to get them. They actually push them further into questioning whether they exist, and this is newer atheists, right? Like, not people have been atheists for a while usually don't fall for it.
I don't know.
Newer atheists get pushed into it.
I mean, I've heard of Christians, like, essentially, presenting people with ideas about, like, kind of hard skepticism and stuff, and then, like, claiming that they watched them, like, descend into kind of some kind of existential crisis or something like that. But I haven't actually seen it. Most people are better grounded than that, so I don't know. I don't know actually how to respond to any claims like that. I've seen them; they're not that common, but I do acknowledge I've heard those from some apologists.
Yeah, and that's actually where it would naturally follow. Like, if you followed it, most people don't follow all the way like that. They stop at the point of, wait, there's something wrong here, But if you actually naturally follow what they're saying, yeah, you would question your own existence. You would fall into questioning. I wouldn't say skepticism, because I take skepticism to be questioning things that you have a good reason to question. I don't think it's like questioning everything or question everything. So I would take it as they become doubters, I guess would be the word. They start doubting everything in existence, and including them, if they can't prove that their precepts are rational.
Do you think that's maybe the intention, to like unsettle them and then say, hey, you need an answer for it? Here's a god that answers everything, kind of thing. You can secure it in this, which is kind of silly, but
I can't remember if it was Bonson or Van Til. One of them says exactly that.
Bunsen, yeah.
Yep.
The object is, unlike Van Til, who was fairly placid. Bonson's open about saying, this is not an argument, a philosophical argument that I'm doing. I'm literally sitting there trying to get them to doubt themselves, to doubt their worldview, in order to introduce Christ to them. And he says it's a bad argument in a way. I mean,
Lovingly closing the mouths of unbelievers.
Thank you, Gus. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's getting people to shut up. That's the Christian way of getting people to shut up.
Amen. Sorry.
And look, again, I think one of the things it's done, which is positive in the atheist community, I think, is to show that the foundations upon which we rest are not as certain as we would like to think they are. Right. So that kind of hubris of philosophy can give you the answers, right, is shown to be or is exposed to be a looser foundation than we would like. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We just have to accept it and understand that philosophy is less certain than economics, which, let's face it, is about as uncertain as in this world as anything else. So
and that we're limited beings with limited mental capacity to understand it. What's actually going on?
Yeah, and also, everything. What philosophy is what's left when all the certainty or all the good inductive arguments have been taken out of it. So it never used to be like that, of course, but when the more we discover, the smaller the gaps are. And philosophy is an attempt to cover those gaps, at least, or talk about them.
I did like Jeff's stream. I think it was last night for me, probably. Look, I'm not even worked out. Last night for me, that was Raging Atheist and Darth Dawkins talking. That was hilarious.
That was.
Is it true that Raging Atheist is converted?
Well, he's done a couple of videos saying that he's had a couple of subjective experiences where he's kind of he's experienced something where he's thinking that he might be more of a theist or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, so Darth Dawkins converted an atheist. That's awesome. That's
no,
awesome.
I don't. Yeah, that's actually kind of the weird thing though, because Darth Dawkins didn't. Darth Dawkins would have forced him to concede to some kind of rational process of thought. But what actually ended up happening to Rage is Rage ended up having some kind of subjective experience, which most of the time when people ask Darth about that, he just rejects that. So
I don't have any problem with it. I hope he's doing okay. I don't know. I just don't have any problem with it, really.
No, I don't either. Like with Rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I don't really, to me, it doesn't really matter whether or not somebody doesn't, whether or not there is a God or isn't a God. My problem is the belief and all of the dogma associated with it, which is usually the problem. The idea that, this notion that you have to take this book to be literally true, and these are all commands from, the God up on high, and then, it all means, this kind of stuff. All of that stuff seems like kind of a negotiation with the text in order to usually finesse some kind of like conservative rule by book. And that's the part that I don't really agree with. The fact that it sounds like to me, and I mean Rage would know this more, when Rage had originally deconverted from being a Christian, he'd gotten into, I think, like kind of a First Nations religion.
Oh, okay. Right. So it's sort of a spiritual ancestor kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then he kind of drifted over into kind of atheism and stuff like that. And then, got into kind of his advocacy in that sense. But I don't know, maybe his heart wasn't in it, from that sense.
Maybe,
but, yeah. So, I don't know that he's going to actually go, he's going to all of a sudden become like a Southern Baptist. I don't really foresee that. But the fact that he's going to end up becoming some kind of like open theist or deist or pantheist or Buddhist or, who knows, okay, that could be the case. Whatever it's going to be, that's going to be up to him. And,
absolutely.
Yeah. Happy trails, good journeys to him. I hope he finds something that, works for him.
Same.
Yeah, because it could happen to me. It could happen to anybody else I know. So
sure.
I don't know. I was just happy to get a new flavor of knock. The old flavor was getting kind of boring.
Yeah, we'll end up getting the Buddhist, the Buddhist atheist, or the raging Buddhist, or something like that. Yeah.
Oh no! I would love to see that be his channel name, the Raging Buddhist.
Yeah, and a bunch of Buddhists show up. I'm like, what? What are you raging about? Like a bunch of different sects of Buddhists. Like, wait, are we supposed to be raging about something? What's going on? I didn't get the alarm bell.
Yeah, the Raging Taoist.
Yeah, I am violently balanced. I'm going to tell you what.
I am so balanced it makes me angry.
By the way, it's good to see you, Fabio. I didn't get to say hi.
Yeah, no problems. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
No, I was just listening. Yeah,
I was going to ask you if nobody minds a brief interlude. I was going to ask you a little question about Italian cooking.
The what? Sorry.
I wanted to ask you a question about Italian cooking.
Okay, I understood you want to ask me a question, but I haven't understood what you want to ask me a question on.
Oh, sorry. It's probably breaking up. A question about Italian cooking.
Oh, Italian cooking. Okay, carry on.
Okay. Do you guys do, in Italy, do you guys do eggplant parmesan?
Yes.
Okay. Is it usually like fillets of eggplant batter dipped and then fried and then made into like a loaf, like a lasagna?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Well, they're actually not battered, but yeah, they're just fried.
Just fried, but not battered.
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
No.
All right. Because there's a place near me that is supposed to have some relatively authentic Italian food, and they have an eggplant farm. And when I saw the recipe prepared by somebody on a video, I was like, I've never had that before, and I really need to try it. I love eggplant, so I should try it. But it is batter dipped. It's batter dipped, herbed, and then deep fried, and then laid into the.
No. It's not battered. You cut them before, you let them dry for a bit, and then you fry them.
You just kind of like saute them in oil in a pan, kind of thing.
No, you fry them. You fry them in a pan, and then everything goes in the oven. So,
okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's kind of what they're doing, but they're like dredging them and then frying them with like an herb crust kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
No, I was just saying. I was just listening to what you guys were saying, and the reason I haven't spoken, that's answering to you, Xbox, is that I personally find the topic of solipsism one of the most boring and useless topics like ever.
Most people
It's
do.
it's
Yeah.
no, it's literally beyond me because okay, it's an hypothetical, cool. There is no answer, nice. But the funny thing is that regardless of the answer, even if there was, a proper answer, the end of it is okay. So what? How does it
Absolutely.
matter?
Absolutely.
You know, it
What
it
do you
it
mean?
is what?
What do you mean? How does it matter? Like
Yeah,
what do you mean?
yeah. What does it matter? How does it matter if there is one answer or another to the problem of solipsism? What difference does it make?
I think Mark could just go around and start punching people and kicking people in the
Well,
balls.
no, I don't think so. I think that just, I think it makes no difference to your life because you're kind of stuck in whatever illusory world that you'd be
That,
in. But
that's exactly what I
surely,
meant. Yeah.
but surely it does matter, sort of with a sort of in the large scale thing. If this is just a temporary illusion kind of thing, like you didn't think that would matter at all if there was another reality that is in fact the actual reality, and this one's just an illusion of that one.
Well, now now you're trying to answer to two questions. The first one is
Okay.
solipsism, and the second one is what is if let's say that we all live in a dream, what is the reality that I will eventually fall into? And those are two
Yes.
different questions. So I'm not answering to the second one because I mean, I personally have no tools, to give me a proper answer,
No, I grant that
right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that was, the why I said that. I mean, I can agree with you, okay, that if we found the answer to those two questions, okay, that might be interesting. The thing is that I think that the second question is even more, I would say, absurd, for lack of a better term. Okay, so bear with me there. Okay,
Yeah. No
but
worries.
it's or preposterous. So I mean, whatever, find a term that it is not offending anybody. But the second one is so far out that I'm not even start with that. I can't even get from the first step. And
Right.
so if I find the answer to the first step, again, it's really so the the what's really puzzling to me is the gravitas that has been given to this question, and especially in you guys were talking about presuppositionalism. And by the way, I don't agree, with you, Xbox, that said, oh, a lot of people answering to those questions. I mean, going on and questioning themselves, going to solipsism or stuff. I'm really skeptical about that. I mean, I don't deny that some people might, but I don't think that that is a normal path. If you get what I mean, if usually my
Yeah.
experience is that if you get to that kind of of questions of problem, uh, you get there eventually, regardless of what started, that thought process. So it's just some people are wired that way. They like to
Yeah.
masturbate their mind that way, which
Can I
is
say?
good. I mean, I'm all for masturbation,
I
so
just want to
yay.
say, quickly, thank you very much to Mark and Gus for coming on. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
And
Thank you, Mark.
if indeed you did, come on. We're not 100% sure of that, obviously, because it's still a hypothetical. Okay.
But yeah, to the second question that he asked, I agree with you because like we don't know if let's say we are in a dream, kind of, right,
Mm, mm,
or I'm in a dream. Put it
hmm
that way, since I would be the solipsist,
Yeah,
and I woke up.
yeah.
It doesn't mean that I would wake up a human. It doesn't mean I'd wake up on Earth. It doesn't mean I would wake up in our space,
It
in
doesn't
our
even mean that you're
cosmos.
gonna wake up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Because
could
you
be
might
nothing.
be
Yeah,
something that you know your real you might exist in a state that where sleeping and being awake doesn't even make sense. So yeah.
right. Right. So that one's impossible to
Yeah, you might
tackle
be a
just as
Bozeman
well.
brain.
Boltzmann brains.
But also, I think it's useful for the point that we were kind of making. I think maybe not everybody, even some, I don't know. But it is useful to show that these philosophical questions have such a ambiguous nature to them that there could never be any consensus about any kind of definitive answer, and that it goes to
Yeah.
show the limitations of deductive logic in that sense.
Well,
Mm.
so there are a couple of things about that. First of all, no, you're right. I mean, it does some really interesting thought experiments. That just stimulate the mind, and you think, oh, well, okay, so it's that. Yeah. They're interesting, right? Uh, what's really been puzzling me is how as I said before, how much how much importance people give to them. Especially in these kind of discussions. So
Mm-hmm.
if we get to okay, we, we are talking about a question, right? That we all agree. Well, there might be somebody which doesn't, but the vast majority agrees that there is no proper answer, right? That is a thought experiment, and that's it. You you
Mm-hmm.
you can't possibly get to the point where you question your life choices or what you think, what you believe, what you don't believe on a thought experiment.
Right.
There is something wrong with you if you do that. The problem is not the thought experiment. The problem is you. So I would be way more interested on why you get to that point from asking yourself a question that we all know it's basically just a joke. And I say that not in a I don't want to dismiss that, but it's just something. uh it's like a mind game. And you get to the point, oh yeah, yeah, you mean, oh yeah, but now I don't exist, and I can go outside and kill babies. Are you fucking mental?
Absolutely. I love that rant.
So
That's
it's
perfect.
it's it's really bizarre, it's really bizarre. But there are a lot of things like that, and this happened a lot, during the G plus days. And
Mm-hmm.
again, presuppositions was another one. While I agree with Simos and Xbox, they said before, I think you said last episode too, that one of the good things about presuppositionalism was the fact that uh, everybody just upped their game a little bit, because they were
Mm-hmm.
thinking about scenarios that the scenario changed a little bit, so you had to improve your game, or to change your game, or to think about a different approach. That is another good example, because it is another weird question, right? That if you follow to the point, it has no answer. Oh, I mean, it hasn't got the answer that presuppositionalists want.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has no proper answer for anybody. If you are on one camp, on one side, you won't get that answer that the other side is going to give it to you. So it's an impasse. You can't get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
uh so again, it turns out to be another mind game. It's like another conversational thing. And I don't think it's not by chance that a lot of people, even in G plus, they were really skeptical about the argument. First of all, because the first time you hear the argument, it doesn't smell right,
Right.
regardless if you don't understand why. The first reaction is that, no, I mean, it doesn't smell right. It's fishy at best. There is also the other fact that Simons will probably remember, Jefferson probably, I don't know, uh, when all the presuppositionalism wave started, there were Christians and fairly good, well, by good, I mean good debaters. People which you really had problems. I mean, getting in a conversation with them, that they didn't even think about going there. And the first name it pops in my mind, and I know it's so yeah,
Right.
people will have a laugh, and rightly so. But one of the people which never even touched that, and he said it's a bullshit argument, was Matt Bell. I mean,
Yeah.
you can say everything about Matt Bell, okay, including the fact that he's in prison right now, rightly so.
Right.
But you can't say that he didn't have a sharp mind when he was talking about Christianity. He
Absolutely.
he never even went close to that,
Yeah.
because again, it was just a tool, just a mind game.
In fact, there was a fantastic debate on MK's channel between Matt Bell and Darth Dawkins,
Yeah,
which was hilarious.
it was fantastic. It was the
Christian on
clash. Yeah,
Christian.
yeah.
Fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant. But yeah. I mean,
So
go ahead. Go ahead, Fabio.
no, 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 no. I'm just saying that sometimes the problem is that in this kind of scenario, this kind of conversation, sometimes we just lose uh, sight of the problem and the issues, and we just fell in love with the arguments, which is okay,
Hmm.
right? But it's okay if you're either 12 or you're on drugs. That's why, for example, solipsism is a great drug conversation topic. If you ever had some really, 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 really good marijuana, I mean, there is nothing better than solipsism to talk about. It's fantastic, but only if you're on drugs.
Jeff, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, demonetized. It was going to say demonetized.
No? Okay. Sub?
I was just working on an argument against solipsism. I think I might have something. Give me a second.
Okay. Okay. Well, we got plenty of time. That's plenty of time. Got as much time as your mind can give us.
The argument against solipsism is an aspirin. You take an aspirin, because you usually think about it when you're drunk or on drugs. You take an aspirin, you go to bed, you wake up next morning fresh as a daisy. So yeah, that would be my argument against solipsism. Take a fucking aspirin and go to bed, you wanker.
You got to tell me what that is you're drinking there.
I don't know. I mean, I can check. Hold on a second. I mean, hey,
No.
listen, guys. I mean,
It's
it's
just
3
like
a.m.
alcohol.
It's
It-
alcohol for
He
sure.
keeps it in the cupboard. You know it's serious.
It's 3 a.m. So do you want me really? Do you think I check what I drink at 3 a.m.? So anyway, it's a German. It's a German liqueur. There you go.
Okay.
Krauter. Yeah.
Are
There
you
you go.
drinking
Yeah.
schnapps, Fabio?
It's not schnapps.
It's not schnapps. Okay.
No. 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 It's an herb liqueur.
Okay.
All right.
Fabio, breaking hearts and making pasta.
I don't make pasta.
he just breaks her. It's like, oh, pasta.
Yeah.
You gotta get that on your
I
own.
don't
It
make.
looked like it looked like
I-
it said Jaeger on the top of it.
No, it's not Jaeger. No.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It looked like it as you flashed it, but I got the Crowder.
Yeah.
So Fabio, I was going to ask you. I've got a family member that's going to be moving to Germany for a job, and so in the next year or so, I'll probably be visiting them. But then where they're at, they're in southern Germany, so I think it's just a hop, a skip, and a 3-hour train ride down to Milan. So yeah, I'm thinking about heading over.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you provide me a couch and some beer and?
Oh fuck yeah! I
sorry.
mean, oh yeah. I mean, there is an apartment downstairs. You can stay as long as you want. And I am about 3 hours from Milan by train. But I mean, if you get there And I mean, if it's a weekend or stuff like that, I can come and pick you up. It's like a 2.5 hour drive, the way I drive. So usually 3 hours. So
Oh, I've seen the way you drive.
Yeah, I'll take the train.
okay,
I'll just-
okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no, there is a place you can say.
oh, awesome. Yeah, because I'm not too. I mean, I did take a little bit of German, so I'm interested to see that. But where they're going to be is going to be in Bavaria and kind of in the countryside. So I wouldn't
Beautiful
mind
place.
seeing that, kind of checking it out. But it's like at the same time, I'm like, well, I can't be that close to Italy and not go to Italy. So yeah,
It's a beautiful Bavaria. It's a beautiful place. And
yeah,
if you go
yeah.
near Munich, you should go to Mauthausen. Just to remember, because yeah, it's gonna be one of those places that freaks out everybody. I think it's
Really?
important to yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's a concentration camp, so I mean, if it doesn't freak out a concentration camp, I'm not really sure I want you in my house. But so
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to see as much of that as I can, but at the same time, it was like Germany wasn't priority on my list, but it's so close to Italy, so yeah.
Bavaria is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I've
All
heard
the
that.
Munich area, it's really and the people is really cool. So
Okay.
people in Bavaria are cool. Then you go south, you go in Austria, and that's shit. If you go a little bit on the left, you go in Switzerland, and that's also shit. And then you get to northern Italy, that's kind of shit. The northern part of the Alps. People are kind of. I'm talking about the people, not the place, right?
You're right.
So you have to go down. Let me see. You got to go south of Milan to keep finding people that are on par with people in Bavaria. So yeah.
I'm trying to figure this out because every time I ask people about this, and it's just like, hey, well, what do you think about some of these countries? And they're like, oh yeah, Switzerland, it's a beautiful country. Like, yeah, what do you think about it? Because this was kind of the thing that I discovered when I studied abroad. Because everybody was like, oh, where did you study? And I was like, yeah, Mexico and Japan. And they're like, oh really? What did you think about Mexico? I'm like, yeah, it's wonderful. Mexico's great. Great people. Like it's got challenges and stuff depending on where you're at, but the food is great. The people are wonderful. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about Japan? Like, yeah, Japan is very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like kind of like
that's
they're like,
it.
what do you
Being
think about? What do you
nice,
think
right?
about?
Like,
Yeah, like, what do you think about the people? Like, the people are basically racist, and
Yes.
hate the
A
fact that you're
lot.
there.
Yeah.
It's a really tough place to be. Like, and it's not to say that I didn't experience hospitality from people that were there. I did, and the hospitality was warm and it was welcome, and I loved it. But in general, like most people, when they get to Japan, they're just like, oh, okay, if you're there for 5 days, Japan seems like this like weird kind of alien planet. If you're there
Yeah.
for 10 days, you start realizing like, holy shit, I never want to live here.
Well, I mean, you're on the receiving end of the racism. You're a fucking gajin over there. So
yeah,
yeah,
guys.
Exactly. Yeah,
I know.
yeah, that's the problem. But then you start
Fuck those
realizing like
guys.
even from them, you start realizing like the stress that the culture puts on them themselves. And you're just like,
Yeah,
holy shit, yeah, I
no,
don't
you're
want to
right.
deal with this.
You're right. That happens. That happens the first 4 or 5 days, and then after 2 or 3 days, you just don't give a flying fuck, and you actually hope that that stress kills everybody you meet.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. You
Yeah, and then
feel sympathetic. Then you know the people say, "I hope you die in a fiery, blazing fire." You know? Yeah,
Okay.
I wish Gojira was real, and stomp you every 10 years, like stomp all Japan, and then goes away. Fuck
We
my
got a
goal is
question that came in
Fabio,
for you.
is to see if I actually experience like culture shock in a European country.
Hmm.
That's my goal, because I've never been to Western Europe. So my goal is to see like, okay, because people have told me like, well,
You won't
you'll get
in
culture shock
Germany.
and everything.
You will not in Germany because,
No,
of course, that's basically America.
That's what I've heard. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's how Americans wish America was. Let's put it that way.
yes,
Yeah.
Because America
Yeah.
isn't like that. But
Yeah.
anyway, there you go. Look,
Yeah,
let me just get through a couple of
it's
things.
it's
quickly.
America with NHS, and gun control, and things are working, and good government. So yeah. It's
Okay.
not America. It's what you wish it was.
So, does Italy still make the best shoes, Fabio?
I have no
They
fucking
do.
And
idea.
suits, pro
He
suits
has
in
no
there as
idea.
well.
I
Okay.
don't know. I mean, listen, guys. From the beginning, from mid-April to September, this is how I go. So I'm
Okay.
so I have no idea.
What
Okay.
about the suits?
Lord of the
You
Rings.
wear a
Gotcha.
suit, or do you have some suits?
Yeah, I have some suits. Yeah.
Okay.
So how are those? Do I need to come to Italy to get the best suit, or
You
No,
don't.
in New
no.
York?
You don't
Will
have
New
to.
York suffice?
You don't have to
I
go to
don't-
Italy to get the best suits, but well, no, actually, I should be clear. You don't have to go to Italy to get the best fitting suits, but if you want the best suits in terms of like fabric, fit, attention to detail, all that kind of stuff, then you probably still have to go to Italy. Yeah.
No, I disagree.
I was thinking about Italy is the cars. Okay.
Totally
Where would
disagree.
where would you go, sir?
Germans would
Your
disagree with that.
local artisan is the best one you're ever going to run into.
Local artists?
Yeah. It doesn't matter how good that Italian shoe or that
Mm.
suit is that they make en masse for people. It will never be as good as walking down to the local tailor that's been a tailor for 50 years, and he can make the suit out of the exact thing you want in the exact way you want. It fits you perfect.
Yeah. That's actually
True.
what makes him bad. That is the exact reason why that artisan is bad. Because if you go in Italy and you want to have a suit and you ask him and you tell him, "Oh, I would love a suit, with that fabric, with that color, or God forbid with stripes and stuff like that," he won't make it to you. So that what makes him superior to the artisan you said.
Oh, that he
Damn.
won't make it for you?
No, because it's ugly, and will tell you, "I'm not making this," and I don't care. No. Well, listen. I mean,
Well, no, around me, they'll tell you it's ugly, but they'll go
You-
ahead and
you-
charge you money.
you think I'm joking, and I'm not.
I
It
don't think you're
doesn't
joking.
matter if you pay and you tell him, "Oh, I'm gonna wear it." He will not make it to you because he said, "No. That's a suit that I am making." So you're not walking out in that shit. I don't care if you pay it. I don't care if you show it only to your sister while you're trying to fuck her. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not making it to you.
Oh,
My-
good.
Good enough.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
would you
my-
say that local artisan, the one that you're talking about, is the
Mhm.
best one that you could run into?
Yeah, that would be the best one. Yeah.
That'd be the best.
Yeah.
God bless you, Fabio. All right,
That
I
would
got
totally
to
be the
get
best
going,
one.
guys. But thank you,
Yeah.
Fabio, for
See-
wrapping that up with that.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in, man.
Thank you guys for the link
Pleasure
and
to have you
everything
here,
for the
Jeff.
chat. Yeah,
Thank you
you
so
guys.
much.
Yeah, have fun.
Hopefully,
Thanks.
you'll come back for next week's.
I will do my best. Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you
guys.
very much. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
See ya.
Oh, he'll be back because he's in my mind.
There we go. You can't keep away. What's this? I wonder if serves three heads. He has three minds or one. Good point. Good point. Yeah.
I feel like I have more than one mind sometimes.
Should we? I know this has all been for giggles, but should we just get back to a little bit of anus watching, as Fabio may describe it?
Oh
The what?
yeah, no, I thought his rant was actually really well.
Yeah.
It is it is whatchamacallit, a thought experiment that hard
Mhm.
solipsism is, and I just think this is just my personal opinion. I put it out there earlier. I think people should wrestle with it, see that it actually shows that you can't what your limitations are,
Mm.
and then move on.
Yeah.
If
The
you
only-
get stuck
the-
in it,
In my opinion, the
stop
only
it.
good thing about thinking about solipsism is that it eventually brings you to ask to yourself, what do you believe in? And by believe, I'm not thinking about a god or whatever. What is your morale?
Mm.
What are your standards? So it forces you to think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It
So
leads
that
you
would
to-
be the only good thing I can take away from engaging in this mental wanking that is solipsism. But Other than
Yeah.
that,
I feel that that's more nihilism, which leads you to those
maybe,
situations.
yes, maybe,
But
you're
maybe
right.
solipsism leads you to nihilism as well.
Eventually.
I think most
Yeah.
roads do. I mean, I don't know whether we've all done it, but I remember, as a very young teenager thinking, what's this all about? What's going on? Etc. Etc. But I know you've just taken it down. I was just trying to get
Oh,
around to it. Do you want to go through this, guys? Just go through Serb's argument. We've got a little bit of time here. Is that all right?
No, yeah, you can go through it. I went through it when you put it up.
Oh, okay. I have no idea. I've been reading it, and I'm none the wiser.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
always a good
so
sign, isn't it?
yeah, well, for me, it's fine. It's fine for me.
Okay.
Ignorance is bliss. Let's face it.
I don't think it's actually when I got it out of my brain and made it into a sentence. I don't think it's a defeater for solipsism.
Yes,
But I think it does one of two things. It makes you think that maybe you're stupid for being a solipsist, or it highlights cognitive dissonance. Right? Because
all right. Yeah.
solipsism, as far as actually believing that the only thing there is mind, probably your mind. I think that's how people usually think of it. That's substance monism. So the simple fact of thinking there's more than one thing
Right.
would be cognitive dissonance. So if you could say there is thing X and thing Y, you don't think solipsism is true. And especially if thing X and thing Y have different properties, then solipsism can't be true because solipsism is just one thing, and that one thing has the properties that it has. Everyone following? That makes sense?
Yes, I kind of do. It seems begging the question fallacy in that, if you assume that X and Y are two different things, then it can't be true. Yeah, okay. If you assume that solipsism is only one thing, but there's nothing to say that the one thing can't have two properties, right? So I think we're just going round on ourselves.
Well, yeah, but it can't be begging the question. It's one statement. It's an if.
Oh,
It's
right.
if.
Sorry. There's a then in there, right? So
Yeah.
it may be all written as one sentence, but that's not necessarily grammatically correct. So. If thing X has properties A and B, but thing Y has properties B and C, then solipsism is false.
Yeah, unless solipsism contains both X and Y and all the other
Right.
properties.
Yeah.
Well, then-
That's
well, then
what I say. And you're putting in X, and then you're adding Y, where in solipsism there would only be X.
So what I'm saying though is if mind, let's say mind has properties A, B, and C. Right, but then you're saying thing A and thing B are mind, but somehow they don't have the property of mind. See how that isn't compatible? They would have to have they would both have to have A, B, and C if they're mind.
No, so you got to say it again.
So if solipsism is true and all there is mind, the mind can have properties. And let's say for this, to keep with this example, the properties are A, B, and C. Let's say those are the only properties that exist. Just to keep it simple. And then you see thing A or thing X and thing Y. And thing X has properties A and B, but doesn't have property C. Well, that means it's not mind. Because mind has to have property C.
Why does it have to be that it has properties A and B and C?
Well, because you would need C to also be the case because there's thing Y that you're saying.
Well, I mean, okay, but you're putting a lot of things on the table that you're not justifying. So you're telling me that everything has to be all three properties together. You put an and. I mean, if I put an or, it doesn't work.
Well, I think
right?
No. I think this is the same. I think it's still the same issue.
Not really.
Because the issue is if everything is mind, so there's only one substance. That substance has its properties. And if there's a thing that doesn't have those same properties, then they're not the same thing.
Yeah, but you're not seeing those things in solipsism.
Well, Let's also use a concrete example, right? If we're talking about, solipsism being true, and this hangout is conceived of by one mind, there are at least 4 different people in it, right? Which all have individual properties, some of which overlap and some of which don't.
Right.
And
That's
they're
why I
all
was saying
contained
that
within one mind. That's the premise of solipsism.
What I'm saying is,
that's why I was saying his premise, his first premise fails, of it having A, B, and C. It would have to have everything
yeah, but
in that
Sure, but
mind.
the point being is that
What?
there are separate thoughts
Yeah.
in the mind. One thought is X and one thought is Y,
you see what
and that's
you're.
not
Yeah, but they're all still
inconsistent.
properties of that one mind.
That's
You,
not
I mean, that-
you already made a
yeah.
mistake though. If you're assuming there are, if you just this room 4 people, then you're not a solipsist.
Right.
No. When I say people, though, I'm not saying that they're not in one mind. I'm just saying they are different thoughts within one mind. The thought of Fabio is different from the thought of Simos. And there are properties which overlap, and there are properties that don't overlap between those two thoughts. And
That's
what
just,
I'm saying
that's
is
just,
here is when you say thing, if thought X has property A and B, but thought Y has properties B and C, then solipsism is false. Do you see how that doesn't really make sense? Because two
Yeah.
thoughts can exist within one mind. There's no
Right.
contradiction there.
And then there's also the fact that, I mean, unless you guys are wired really strange, it's not that, when you think of something in your mind, you think about everything at the same time, right? I mean, you can have different
Mhm.
thoughts of things with different properties and
Right.
will still be in your mind. So, I mean, really,
You're shoving non-mind things into the mind though, right? The fact that there's 4 of us, and that then you could say we're different things, and there's different thoughts, and we're in a space where these things can be separated and not share the
They're
same
not.
properties. That's all things that are not true in solipsism.
so hold on a second.
Right.
When you write thing X, you're not talking about a thought of the mind, which presupposes solipsism. You mean a real thing?
Well, the simple fact of thinking there is thing X and that X itself is not mind.
No,
Full stop.
I'm
That would
asking
be.
you. No, I'm actually asking you. What do you mean when you say thing X? What is thing X? Is it a
Well, any
thought of the mind which is building this whole universe, which would be me in this instance, or is it something which is not a thought of my mind? It's
well,
something on the
it
same
could
plane
be
of the mind that is thinking about those things.
it could be
What is think
any
X?
it could be anything that isn't thing Y.
You're
You're
begging the
not
question.
yeah, but you're not answering my question. I'm sorry. So
Here,
when
Fabio,
Yeah,
he's saying
it
that
can be a thought, right? It can be a
X,
thought. It could be a shoe. It could be a cloud. It could be a
yeah,
car.
yeah.
It could be anything but thing
no,
Y.
okay, carry on Xbox because I think so. Either not explaining my question properly or I'm not hearing an answer. You try Xbox. I
Oh
think you
yeah,
get what they'll say.
yeah. If he's saying X, he's saying like it could be your bottle of liquor back there, your cup that you're drinking from. It could be
Right,
you're yourself. But I
right.
think I think he's begging the question when he's saying those are all separate entities with separate properties.
No,
Well,
but there is also the fact that okay, so if he's thinking about the bowl of liquor, this can, this glass, those are all things that I'm imagining, right? So,
Hmm.
and there are different properties, and so it doesn't change the fact that solipsism might be true or false. It doesn't address the problem. Oh, is this something that I'm imagining or not? So, if by thing X and thing Y is telling me that is talking about things that I'm actually imagining, that 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 is, I mean, that argument, I mean, it doesn't address the problem.
that's why I said it's not a defeater. It's not actually a defeater.
But it's not. I don't know what it is though. So I
It,
So,
it,
really don't know what
well,
it
then
is.
it's poorly worded. If it's not a defeater, then saying then solipsism is false isn't correct, is it?
No, because
Yeah.
What should that say in reality?
No, it's not a defeater in that it's not actually being presented or being used to defeat solipsism, because you could say all these things are just an imagination.
Yeah,
Like they
that's
are actually
where I
just
was going,
mind.
yeah.
They are
Yeah.
they are all the same thing. What it is, if you think this is true, the fact that you think there are different things and that some of those things have properties other things don't, there's no way you think solipsism is true. So you have to say solipsism is false.
Why you say that? I mean, you keep saying that, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm with you, but the fact that you keep saying that doesn't make it better. I mean, we
Look,
all three. I
hang
mean,
on.
yeah, go ahead.
But look, could you have two thoughts which have two thoughts are the same, right? Thoughts are thoughts. They're all one thing, thoughts. Yes?
Yeah, I would say that in the sense where there's only one thing, mind, thoughts
Yeah.
would be a property of the mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay, so can you have more than one thought in a mind?
Yes, you have one thing with multiple properties.
You have one thing with multiple properties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So each of these properties, are they the same though?
No, they're different properties,
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
but none of them are
all
things.
we're saying
at
is
that point.
so it's impossible. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, under those circumstances, in the way you've worded it, then yeah, that's true, right? Because if thing X doesn't have all the properties and thing Y doesn't have all the properties, then they're different. But that's just begging the question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was
Against
saying.
solipsism.
Yeah.
That's just saying, well, look, solipsism's false because I can write out a sentence which says that you can't have two thoughts which are the same, which have different like consequences or something, or meaning, or whatever you want, whatever subset you want to use as a descriptor.
No.
Yeah.
Because I don't think solipsism being false is in the premises. If you break this into a syllogism.
Well, no, it is, because if you're saying that solipsism necessitates having two things which are the same, and then your first premise is there are two things that are different, right? Then you're
But that's not the
literally
premises.
saying it must be false.
But that's not the premise. The premise is if.
Yeah, if there are two things which are different,
But I
then
think you're thinking
solipsism
in.
can't be true. Yeah, is that what?
Yeah, I'm not saying there are two things that are different. I'm saying
Yeah.
if there are two things that are
Yeah.
different.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you're saying if two things are different, then they can't be the same.
Yeah, and solipsism is a philosophy of there being one thing.
Right. So it's a tautology then, in other words.
I mean, it's not really a restatement of the same thing, but
Well, it is, isn't it? Because if you say like X, right, is not X, then you're just stating the same thing.
kind of. But like, so the premises has
Fact is
more
not
more
exactly
implications than just solipsism being false. That's why I'm saying it's not just a tautology.
Well, look, you're defining solipsism as being everything is the same, right?
Yeah, it's all mind.
Yeah, everything is the same. Well, I mean, it's not just that. Is everything in the mind is the same?
Yeah.
Right, and that's
Yeah,
not
Hold
necessarily
on,
true.
no,
including,
wait,
including that argument.
However,
wait. You can't say end. You can't say in
why not?
because space is another thing.
No,
So
it
it's
doesn't.
just
It
all
can be
mind.
disembodied mind. It could be disembodied mind. That's fine.
Well, yeah, there's no body, right? It's just
Yeah.
mind.
Right.
No space, no ways
So
to
in
be
is
in
not.
and out of other things.
Yeah, no, I'm not using in that context. I'm literally saying in is just a descriptor of things which are in the property of the mind. Right.
Probably, I can't. It doesn't make sense to say in the mind.
Right. Well, how would you describe what a thought then? Do you think a thought is in a mind, or do you think a thought is a function of a mind, or
I think
how
you're just.
how would you like to describe it?
If you're a solipsist, you would have to think a thought is a property of the mind.
Right.
Of mind
Okay, that's fine.
itself.
See, I think you're begging the
It's
question.
not-
I think you're smuggling
Yeah.
in that
Yeah, I'm
first
sure it is.
line there. You're
if?
smuggling in solipsism.
How can it be smuggling something in if it's an if statement?
If thing X has, right?
I'm not even saying there is thing X. I'm deliberately allowing there to be in that first premises solipsism to be being true.
So if solipsism is true, it would be before if thing X has
No,
properties A
it
and
could be
B.
true. It doesn't exclude it from being true.
That's what I said. If solipsism is true, then if thing X has properties A and B, but thing Y has properties B and C, then solipsism is false.
Yeah, on two different accounts. It could be true at that point. There's
but
no way for you to know if there's actually thing X and thing Y because
Here,
solipsism could be true.
right. So add that at the end. Then solipsism is true, and you have the same
Yeah.
outcome.
Well, no, it would be impossible if the first two.
No, it would be impossible
would-
only if you define solipsism the way that it fits to be impossible.
Mhm.
Because if I say solipsism is the process by which a mind can create objects with different properties, and it doesn't matter, and those objects can have different properties, they don't have to have all of them together, right? Then I say if things X has properties A and B, but things Y has properties B and C, then solipsism is true.
Well, no,
Because it defines solipsism as the process of a mind which creates a reality in which things X can and Y can exist and they have different properties. So depending on how you define solipsism, this is why Simos told you that you're begging the question.
well, I get that what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying it technically can't be begging the question because it's an if statement.
Yeah, if it's not an if statement, then if it's not begging the question because it's not an argument, that's fair enough. But as I say, it's just a tautology to say in that case, which is very similar to begging the question. Let's face it. It's just that to say, there are two things that are different, therefore they can't be the same. Okay.
And with Fabio, like if
not the same is two things are different. They're the same sentence.
Yeah.
but
I just want to welcome Ger to the stream as well. Welcome, Ger. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's good to see you.
Oh yeah, it's good to see you and everyone else. Yeah, I'm just listening. I didn't want to interrupt.
As soon as you do, just speak up, mate. No problem.
Well, I was curious. What are the properties of X versus Y, B, C, and all that stuff? Or did you already go over that? Probably.
No. A, B, and C could be any property that isn't the other ones.
Okay.
So X could be a wrench, a shoe, a glass. Y could be this same kind of things like a Coke can, a cigarette, a pair of glasses.
Yeah, A, B, and C could be cold. It could be round. It could be up. It could be down.
Okay.
It just can't be the same one.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess with solipsism, like, there's no way to know that's outside of yourself, per se.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more of a I love Carmania. But I do get it's I guess like a hypothetical or conditional, maybe. If B, then C, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when it comes to solipsism, I think that I kind of am one because I can't know that anyone else exists outside of myself, but I just see no reason to think I'm the only one that exists. Like I don't think my consciousness is the only thing that is conscious, but I feel like there's really no way to like prove it or disprove it, because whatever way you could prove it or disprove it, you're still processing it with your own brain or mind.
I just want to say, just want to interrupt there to say thank you very much, Fabio. We really appreciate you spending time, especially as it's late in your part of the world.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And
Yeah, you have a good night, Fabio.
I
Cheers,
just
guys.
want to do a bit of a
Yeah.
shameless plug while everybody's
Yeah.
here.
Plug it
Fabio
in.
and Funk on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. UK time. We'll be covering the Spanish Grand Prix. Is it not tomorrow night?
Not
Monday
tomorrow.
night.
Monday.
I beg your Monday night. We're a day early, aren't we?
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Fabio, and I'll look forward to seeing you then.
Cheers. Bye bye.
It's Rope and Fabio. then.
Fabio. It's a fabulous name.
I was going to say, based on I don't even know if I want to do it since he's not in here to clarify if there's something.
Do it. Now he can't defend himself.
Like, well, I'm not saying I'm not going to say he's wrong. What I'm going to say is, he said, a mind can create, right? If he means literally create, then solipsism's false. Once the mind starts making
No,
things.
that doesn't follow either. So, because
No,
again, you could solipsism is just.
Well, I said there's two ways.
There is only
but-
one mind, isn't there? So if there is only one mind, it doesn't matter whether there is a material world or not, as long as there's only one mind that controls it all.
But it does make you wonder, though, if thoughts are things,
Yeah.
and you're
Well,
the
yeah,
only
I was going to
mind,
get to that.
and you're the only mind. If you have a thought, is that something separate from the mind? Is it an emergent thing that's separate from it?
I don't know, but let me start over because I can't go through this whole thought without just getting it all out.
And do you go by Germania?
Oh yes, Germania.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I call you the right name.
I
But yeah,
appreciate that.
I kind of take the stance that similar to what you were saying, actually. Like
okay.
I take a view of epistemic solipsism, just that we can't know anything beyond our experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't stop you from, moving on from that and navigating the world. And
Right. I kind of view it the same way with like simulation theory. If we're in a simulation, whether it's proved today or disproved today, at the end of the day, yeah, we still got to go about stuff. Same way with free
Right.
will. I don't believe in free will, but I'm like, well, doesn't matter if we have free will or not. I still have to pay the bills.
right.
What's a nice girl like you doing in a joint like this? Oh, spooky.
Okay. Can I get it out?
Okay, go for it, Seb. Go for it.
Okay, so let me start over.
Yeah.
So, taking what Fabio says, if a mind literally creates something, then solipsism is false in the sense that there is only mind. Right? Because there's literally something other than the mind. If he's saying the mind creates something as in part of the singular thing mind, the part's wouldn't even be the right wording. But that involves the fantasy a thing. Right? That there is no literally actually a thing.
Let's
It's
call
just
it
the mind.
let's call it a thought then. The mind creates a thought. Okay, the thought of Xbox, the thought of Go, the thought of Simos.
Yeah, and then solipsism can be true. That's all I'm trying to point out. Is the way I wasn't sure the way he was wording it. Was he wording it in a sense where solipsism becomes false, or the way in which solipsism is preserved?
Yeah, I'm not completely.
Say
Sure,
that
could you
again for
even-
me, Seb, and I'll try and answer it. I missed what you said.
The whole thing.
No, just the last bit.
The whole thing.
The last sentence.
I wasn't sure if he was trying to phrase it in a sense where solipsism starts off being true, then becomes false, or stays true because things aren't literally being made.
No, I think he was literally just saying it could be false. It could be true because these thoughts can have different properties.
No, I actually get, sir. I'm understanding now what you're saying with your
Okay,
argument.
Good.
Yeah, you can render this argument to show if you're not assuming solipsism is true or false to begin with, render this argument to show that it's false. Right? Is that?
Yeah, if you think the if statement, well, I mean, I guess there are two ifs. If we're making this into a syllogism, there's two if statements. If you think those if statements are true, you can't think solipsism is true. That's all it's pointing out. You can think they're false and think solipsism is true.
Yeah, I still don't get that, because under the definition where, you know, it's not possible for these two things to be within a mind. I mean, that's effectively what we're saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I'd agree with
impossible to have these two things in one mind. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, if solipsism is true and the only thing that exists is a mind, then there can't be other things. To say in, or to say there's parts of mind, or that doesn't make any sense if you have substance monism.
See, I think you're assuming solipsism is false in this argument. If thing X has this property and this property, but thing Y has this property and this property, you're assuming there are other things, X and Y, out there besides the mind.
Oh, kind of like begging the question.
Right. Yeah, that was my first. Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay, I see that.
The simple fact of saying that there is an X and then there is a Y would force you to conclude solipsism is false. And then acknowledging thing X and thing Y don't have the same properties would also force you to conclude solipsism is false. But since they're if statements, they're not saying that this is true.
Yeah, I don't think anything's wrong with necessarily with the argument. If X actually exists out there and it has these properties, and Y is out there and has these properties, or X and Y exist out there and have those properties, then solipsism is false. That would be true. But you would have to solve solipsism before you could render this argument. You would have to be able.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. It's not a defeater. Okay. That's why I said it might. If you think there literally are things X and Y, but then also think solipsism could be true, then I'm saying this is kind of this would make you should either make you feel stupid or give you cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like the way you
It'd be more of this is more of a confirmation, right? Thanks.
Yeah. This is something that works in a debate, but not necessarily a philosophical argument.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's triggering me. That's triggered me.
Right, because what I'm saying is the whole audience, with the exception of maybe a couple philosophers that are just really into solipsism in the audience, are going to go, yeah, thing Y and thing X there are things. Things exist. It's going to force them to come to the conclusion there's no solipsism.
No, they're not. Not when the solipsism word comes into the sentence. They just say that these things exist, right? And that when it could be doubted, right? I don't understand that. That's where my disconnect comes, right? Because I'm going, well, look, if it's possible that solipsism is true, which it seems to me it's possible that it's true. Doesn't seem likely, right? I think there's some good abductive arguments against it. Go ahead.
No, Simon, say you've solved solipsism, and then look at the argument that way. You've solved solipsism. There are other minds. So X does exist out there. Y does exist out there. They both have different properties.
Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then that would mean that would confirm.
Make any sense to me then.
Maybe you should put in there. Then that would confirm solipsism is false.
Yeah. Well, you could rephrase it to where thing X has been found, thing Y has been found.
Then solipsism is false. I mean, it's fine, and that's fine, right? And that's cool to say in that. Like I remember using that exact argument about God once. Somebody told me they were an agnostic, and they shall remain nameless, but everybody knows who it is in the side chat. Somebody said they were a temporal agnostic, and there could be a deductive argument, which is true. And I said, okay, so you're saying it's possible that the argument says God does exist, therefore God exists.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Right. And he just went, no, that's not an argument. And I went, what? Yes, of course it's an argument.
what's a temporal agnostic? Is that one just
Somebody
temporary
who
kind of
thinks that
agnostic?
there might in the future be evidence of God or proof of God.
Oh,
And
well,
in the
I'm
case of
fine with
him, he
that.
said there may be a deductive argument which is sound for which is the conclusion that
Yeah,
God
I
exists.
personally, I think there could be evidence one day. I just doubt that'll ever happen.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a deductive argument though. That's...
Oh well, yeah, probably not.
but the weird thing about temporal agnostics is that you have to question why they're an agnostic in the first place. Because the whole kind of point of becoming saying you're an agnostic over just saying you're some type of atheist or something is that you're acknowledging that you can't know. you can't know.
Right.
It's not possible to know.
Yeah, that's actually I'm actually an agnostic. I say that I believe that there's not I don't believe there's not a God, but I don't know if there's a God. But I also believe that even if one exists, you couldn't know it. And it sounds like you're saying a temporal agnostic would be shoved into saying the same thing.
Wouldn't that be like an atheism, maybe, or a branch of atheism?
No, like theological non-cognitive is like that stands. A theological non-cognitivist or atheist says they don't know what the word God means or angels or any kind of
like supernatural
miracles,
stuff.
any kind of that language. They don't get it. They don't think it means anything.
Which might say is the stupidest position to have.
Stizer.
I'll give you 10 definitions that make sense. Like if you really like someone really truly doesn't understand the word.
Yeah, no, I argued with Stizer for 2 hangouts, almost 8 hours long both, and I made up a God.
God damn.
And I know, right?
Yes.
I made up a God, and he would not accept it. And it was the easiest God. I gave him basic definition. It was just a creator God created this universe, and he would ask me questions about it, and I was like, it's just a guy named Jim sitting at his computer. Yeah. And he just wanted to deny it the whole fucking time. And I'm like, well, he created our universe. What else would you call that?
Well, I will say when it comes to like what is a god, I get you can define one into existence, but that is something I wonder. Like for example, Thor, god of lightning. Let's just say Thor existed. I'm just thinking, okay, he's obviously a guy that has abilities that I can't understand. I can only see that he can cause lightning, and he's presumably really powerful. Maybe not all powerful, but strong. But I just don't know what classifies another being as a god. Like, what is a god? That is something that I often.
I think honestly the best general definition anywhere. I have submitted it. Like I have written like 30 letters to Oxford in my life about definition. I'm like the only one that does it. It's weird.
That's awesome.
And I know for a fact they listened to a couple of them. I want credit for that. They changed the definition of bigotry because of the argument I had with them.
Ooh, do tell.
I'll tell about that later.
Okay.
The best definition that I've ever seen, and I've came up with it. God means supernatural being with superhuman powers.
Oh.
But
Lost him for
the
a second.
supernatural, that's another word that I have issues with. Like, what would make a thing supernatural? Like walking through a wall, like that's cool, but that could be like reduced to like a quantum mechanics level or something. I don't know.
But
maybe I'm just really
it's a moving target because I think the general sense of
throw through walls kind of thing.
But I think over time it's a moving target because as we discover more and more about how reality works, we learn the systematization of what we're looking at, right? So we sort of slowly fold more and more things into what's natural.
But we don't call the things that we don't know supernatural just because we don't know what they are.
I do feel like it's a placeholder.
Yeah, that's a good point,
Yeah.
right? Because I've heard a lot of theologians recently trying to assert that the unknown placeholders in science are equivalent to the supernatural, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, how many
So when I
scientists
say
have you heard
when I
say
say
that?
when I say supernatural, I'm literally talking about things which break the fundamental laws
Yes.
of science
Right.
or nature, whichever way you want to put that. Right?
Yeah, or even reality. Like,
Yeah,
but like,
maybe.
but see, this still goes into the moving target thing, right? Because if we
Yeah,
come
that's
if we
true as
come
well.
up if we come up with the theory of everything, you get that one equation, that one law now that is what governs everything. It has to show literally that something about the other laws aren't quite right. We already kind of know that they don't completely match everywhere.
Yeah,
So
look,
that by definition would make that thing supernatural.
no, you can't really say that, right? And I'll tell you why you can't really say that. It seems to me that there is some kind of asymmetry in the universe, right? And I don't think that's beyond dispute anymore.
Yes, but shown multiple
and-
ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that asymmetry, if it's to be accounted for by a theory of everything, is going to be incoherent, right? Or at least unfalsifiable. I mean, it seems to have been done by maybe quantum loop gravity, maybe M theory, right? And potentially, but these things are unfalsifiable currently. So I think that in itself is not going to explain whatever CP violation or the asymmetry, to give it another name. And I think that's a big problem. I don't think mathematics can give you an asymmetrical universe starting from one thing. Right? That seems incoherent.
But what I'm saying is, like, if your definition of the supernatural is something that violates the laws of nature, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if this is, it's easier if we rewind time so we have a different set of what the laws are of nature to highlight what I'm pointing out here. So Newton was right. Then we saw Mercury. Mercury broke Newton's theory, therefore Mercury is supernatural.
No, Mercury.
Well, again, it goes back to the placeholder.
I don't think. Sorry, I don't think Mercury breaks Newton's theory. That's not what happens. No, that's incorrect. Newton's theory just can't explain the perihelion of Mercury because it's a too simple a formulation, right? But like I've said to quite a few people, I mean, Newton's theory is a derivation of general relativity. It's a special case, just like special relativity is a special case of general relativity. So is Newton's theory. It's just the restrictions are very, very.
We'll put it this way: it's something that doesn't follow the laws as we knew it. So then what happened is instead of calling it supernatural,
it does
just
follow the
updated what we thought the laws were.
No. It does follow the laws. It's just the laws aren't comprehensive enough to include some of the variables that need to be taken into account to account for that particular behavior.
I think that's what Sir might have been implying, and I could be wrong.
What I'm saying is, if you're defining it as something that breaks the laws of nature, anything you're going to possibly find could I think be eventually systematized in what we consider to be the laws of nature, therefore rendering anything not supernatural.
Yeah, I'm not convinced about
that. I would agree with that, actually.
I'm not
right.
Convinced.
Like, if there is a God and God has a nature, that means he's predictable in some sense. Therefore, there must be law that governs him.
Yeah. Okay. I will grant you that there may be an undiscovered law which could break the symmetry.
It's morality, Simos.
Yeah, no, that's.
Well, I would call it the law of God's nature. There you go.
You can call it whatever you like, right? But there could be.
You call it my dick.
There could be some kind of. There could be some kind of force, or I guess we'll call it a force, which fundamentally breaks, the law of the first law of thermodynamics. I think that's potentially possible, But I think when you talk about that, then it renders the rest of the universe meaningless. So I'm not sure how you're going to find a universe that we live in compatible with that law. Is it possible that that law could be broken, and what breaks that law then transforms into the universe we see? Maybe, yeah. So I'll grant you that.
Okay, well, when you get to Planck time, you call beyond that supernatural?
No,
Anybody?
no, that's the problem I'm having with
It's
theologians.
unsensible.
That's the problem I'm having with theologians that want to say that a singularity is supernatural.
All right.
No. A singularity, right, is not something which exists because it's a state of an unknown. It's a gap, right, in our knowledge.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, can there be something in that gap which turns out later to be natural? One would hope so, obviously, and that's what we look for in in empiricism or in methodological naturalism, for instance. But
Yeah, this is where our physics and math break down, right? Like into how we understand them.
with that particular, general relativity breaks down, yeah.
And I wouldn't, and I wouldn't
Not
label
necessarily
it
quantum
supernatural,
mechanics,
but
because there are explanations for it, right? There are such things as that are proposed. So such things as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, or quantum fluctuations, as they say these days. Krauss says in his book, "The Universe from Nothing."
Yeah.
But again, I think
That's
that these are just possibilities now, and they're unfalsifiable at that, right? Especially at our current state of understanding of unification between quantum mechanics and relativity.
Do you think they'll ever solve that problem with quantum mechanics?
Well, I think they have. They've solved it. It's just whether we will ever be able to find an experiment which proves it to be true.
Oh, so like there's like a something that's like theoretically solvable, or?
Well, there are mathematical models. It's not a theory yet,
sure.
but there are mathematical models such as string theory, such as quantum Lie gravity.
Oh, okay, yeah, with string theory, yeah, I do. I mean, I don't understand it. Don't get me wrong, but I do get the general idea. But I just thought there was still a battle between trying to combine, classical physics with quantum mechanics or quantum physics.
Right. No, I mean, I don't think there's any major problem with that in terms of it can be done mathematically through a model. It just can't be done to the point where we could falsify it, and so therefore it's not scientific at the moment.
Right.
Yeah,
so
the scientists are just making it up. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only a problem when you're trying to see how it's compatible in reality.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think one of the most common ways to make the quantum mathematics work with the classical physics without using like string theory is, if I remember correctly, they take the 3-dimensional representation and convert it into a 2-dimension, and then they convert it that way and then turn it back into a 3-dimension, and then it works. I was shown that once by one of my math teachers, and I was like, this is all voodoo magic to me.
Yeah, kind of. There's something called the holographic principle, which also has a similar kind of thing, where they basically lay a 3D universe on a 2D boundary. What's the word I'm looking for? A 2D surface. Yeah.
And I just want to say,
that reminds me. Can you prove that the moon isn't a hologram?
Can I prove the moon isn't a hologram? Did you say?
Yeah.
That's such a vague question.
It's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I think that we can show that given the laws that light behaves in the way light behaves, it seems to me that the 3D nature of the shadow on the moon is enough to prove that it's a solid object and that it's spherical.
Yeah, that's just holograms. Like, you can
put
big shadows over holograms.
That's what big NASA wants you to think, Simos.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, in terms of like the holographic theory or model, I should say, no, I mean that is completely plausible. Right? It's unfalsifiable. So when you say, can you prove something which is unfalsifiable, I think not empirically. No, it can't be empirically proven. Like with solipsism, right? You can't empirically
Right.
prove that solipsism is false.
Right. I was actually going to circle back to that, I guess, lightly, because, like, as far as like being, certain about a thing, well, we'll just say absolute or 100% certain. But again, I feel like the only thing I can be 100% certain on is that I exist. But then if you were to say, well, what is the I? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
Hal,
idea.
see if you want to join, please do. By the way,
Yeah, no, that's why I
you're
was
welcome
saying
to
I'm
join.
Oh, sorry. Go. I thought you were
No,
doing
no, I was
something.
just inviting someone from the chat because she's a very smart lady.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
That's why
Xbox.
I take a step further than the I, right? Like I doubt the I. And, and just go to like experience.
Yeah, Xbox
Well,
is
it's
hardcore.
almost like bundle theory. It's kind of like Hume used.
Is that the what is it called? Non-conject. I can't remember the term, but it was something that sounded kind of fancy. I think it's whatever Godless Girl is. Non-something.
Oh, and
something.
Yeah, she's some kind of nihilist. I can't remember.
I can't remember the exact term.
Realist.
I don't know, not textural, but
yeah, non-something.
Non-cognitivist.
I think that was it. I am like 99% sure because I can't be 100%.
Yeah, and Xbox says to the run-of-the-mill solipsist, "I'm just like you, minus one more fantasy."
I see what you did there. I'm an atheist with 900 gods, or 1,000 gods, except for 999 one. Whatever. I can't do math. But yeah, like as far as like, because when it comes to like, can you disprove that the moon is not a hologram and stuff like that? I do feel like it kind of treads back to the solipsism in a way, which I think Simos kind of already said.
Yeah, Tux, you'd be welcome to join. Please do. I think the link's pinned at the top. So.
Yeah, I think it is. That's how
I'm trying to get Hogtie in here as well.
Well, I mean, as long as we're assuming, assuming solipsism is false, holograms are not reflective. The moon is. And you can prove this even without the sun. You can actually shine light at the moon and have it reflect.
Yeah, whatever.
That's a great argument. Yeah, whatever. I like it. Wait, so if solipsism is false, you could prove that the moon is not a hologram? Is that what you had said?
Yeah, because holograms aren't reflective. They can emit light.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. When you say holograms aren't reflective, can they appear reflective? Because that's what's important.
Oh,
not whether they are or
that's
not.
That's actually a great question.
Well, yeah, I guess actually, if you're assuming even more, right? If you're assuming that there's a mad scientist or a malevolent AI, deliberately projecting the moon with complete knowledge of what anyone might be doing to the moon, then I couldn't prove that away, because they could just change the light on the hologram to make it look like there's light reflecting.
Yeah.
Or there could be a problem with your personal perception, or maybe everybody else's who sees it too.
But just a magical hologram with no intelligence floating in the sky, I can disprove that.
Well, there could be intelligence, but they're hiding.
Yeah, those fuckers
just keep pushing this back further and further.
Well, I think the holographic principle of the universe theory, that theory about the universe being a 3D hologram on a 2D surface, I think is a brilliant way to explain the universe. And what I really like about it is that the mathematics are completely consistent. Of course they are. They would be, because we're coming down, like Serb was implying here. We're coming down a dimension, not moving up a dimension.
Yeah.
and that makes all
My-
the difference, I think.
My
Which is
favorite
why
thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
My favorite thing about it is that means that the universe is rendering 3D space, just like Doom 2 does the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
See, bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Proved it.
Hashtag get wrecked.
I wonder what implication that has on time, though. It's been a long time, and I haven't looked at that. I mean, it's a Susskind thing, isn't it? From a few years back, he did a fantastic podcast on the holographic principle, or a series of lectures, I should say, on it. And I haven't seen them for maybe 5 or 6 years, but you've now stirred my curiosity to go back and listen to 9 hours of Susskind going, and here's the mathematics for it.
As far as I'm aware, and my awareness of this is out of date. Oh, before I forget, I want to say if Ejon out there somehow sees this, you are my favorite teacher, and I hate you. That when they convert from 3D to 2D back to 3D to do that conversion from quantum to classical, they can't do both the space and the time. They have to do the conversion and then do the time in one or the other converted spaces. They can't.
That sounds way too complicated for me.
I guess there's. I mean, there has to be a way to do it. I just don't think they know how to do it at the same time.
But you know there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, mathematics is a coherent logical system, and you can compute time. Right, so I would assume there has to be a way.
We're going to have a dispute if you're going to call it coherent.
Oh, he's going to hold on to it now.
And logical. I mean, those are the two things it might not be.
Well, it's not classically logical, no.
Yeah.
It's better than classically logical.
Okay. Yeah, if that's what you mean by logical. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it has inside the rules of mathematics. The mathematical version of the liar's paradox doesn't exist because there's a solution for it. That's why I say it's better.
I'm not sure there is.
Yeah, because you have more than one truth value. You can have more.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. On that sense, right, fair enough.
Yeah, someone was going over the truth table on the liar's paradox the other day. I wasn't following them, but like
classical logic is wrong. That's what it comes down to.
The liar's paradox, is that where someone says I am lying right now?
Wrong is too strong a word. It's neither wrong nor right.
Okay.
I mean, it's just it's not proven, you know.
You say this sentence is false, and if you say that it's false, then it's true, and if you say that it's true, then it's false.
Yeah, the issue is one of the laws of classical logic is the law of excluded middle, meaning all propositions are either true or false, and there are propositions that can't be either, or are both.
And indetermined though, you know, that's the problem, isn't it? Undetermined.
Yeah, but undetermined isn't a possibility in classical logic.
Yeah.
Well, I think classical logic says it's either true or false, right?
Yeah.
And it could be either true or false. We just can't know that it's either true or false.
Reminds me of Schrodinger's cat.
So I'm not convinced that it's necessarily
I think it's actually impossible for the liar's paradox to be one of those.
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's the point about it, is it?
No, because as soon as it's one of those, then it's the other one. That's the whole point. That's why it's constructed that way.
Yeah, agreed.
Wouldn't that go on like ad infinitum though? So the below statement is true, or however it's worded, I forget. But yeah,
you can word it a bunch of different ways. And there have been like arbitrary rules suggested to be added to the classical logic, and then someone just reconstructs the liar's paradox to get around that arbitrary rule. So it's a problem that can't be solved in classical logic.
I just watched a video on this very topic maybe a month ago. I'm gonna see if I can find it, because he went down this list of rules or what have you. He said Professor, God, I can't remember his name. I'll find his name and link it in the
Grand
private chat
Priest.
in case anyone's interested.
If it's on YouTube, it's probably Grand Priest. He's a Grand Priest.
Grand Priest. Okay, I'm
Russell
curious. This is gonna bug me.
Craig
Look for it.
and Montague Grammar.
Frege.
Someone's mentioning those are ways out of it.
I don't think they
Let's see
are.
here.
I don't think they are. Ways out of it. I don't think there are, because Frege's
Oh, it's spooky.
like
that
he
mentioned.
literally stopped as soon as Russell found it. Right, the self-referential statements. Then Frege just stopped publishing straight away. So I'm not sure there's ways out of it. I think there might be. Well, I don't know what you mean by out of in that sense, Spooky, actually. But anyway, I mean,
I found it. Jeffrey Kaplan. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. Kaplan. Anyway, I'm gonna post it in the private chat. Okay, this is the. Oh no, that's not it. Sorry, I'm gonna mute while I look for this so I don't interrupt.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was on Clubhouse with the other day. I was listening to them, and they were talking. They had laid out truth tables for it. And
I'd love to see that. I really would. I hadn't even thought about the truth tables. Funnily enough, just to take us back, because Gus was in here earlier. I don't know if you remember when Gus said to G-Man, so who wrote Titus? And G-Man went, what? I don't even know what Titus is. And everybody had a good laugh. But in Titus, there is a version of a self-referential statement made where, and I think it's by Paul, of course, but Titus says something like, a Cretan prophet came to me and told me all Cretans are liars. Right, which is about as close to the liar's paradox as you're going to get in whatever it was, like 50 AD or something. And Paul says, therefore, all Cretans are liars.
That's
Always
funny.
makes me laugh.
What was that?
Is that one? Is Titus one of the ones that is not attributed to Paul or maybe questioned?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I know this guy.
Okay, I figured somebody would.
Yeah. He's a professor. He's a professor at the University of North Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. I just came across this stuff, like I said, maybe a month ago, and
Okay,
been
let me
enjoying
just
it.
post that in chat for you, just so everybody's on the same page. Right? Okay, I take it all back. I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, I don't remember what his answers were because he gave some pretty long-winded answers, which is good because to me it's kind of complicated. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting watch, regardless.
Well, I'm going to guess he's going to go through. He's probably not going to bring up three-value logic, is he?
Let me see, because I don't remember. Oh shit! What did I do with it?
Oh no, he does. I'm looking at the little pictures he has up. He does.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I just looked at it. Not true.
Yeah.
True, false, not true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he goes through this sentence is not true, and then he'll do the other one. The sentence below me is not true, and then the sentence below says the sentence above me is true, or something along those lines. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting watch, nonetheless.
Yeah, appreciate that link.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh yeah, you got it. There's a couple other ones that he has, which is he's got a lot of good stuff. Yeah, he has one on I think it's called motivation harvesting or something. Talked about being quote unquote lazy, like time management versus something that he thinks is better, which is emotional management. Where basically, if you know when you get home, you're going to get right onto your computer and not do what you need to do, like study or what have you, then it's best not to go home and do the study somewhere else where you're away from the temptation or something along those lines. Very simple stuff, but I thought, that actually makes more sense than just saying, yeah, you're terrible with time. Anyways.
Yeah, I take it that's a yes. If you just want to answer the question quickly for me. Okay, it's up to me. You always say that.
I'm watching this transpire in the background.
I
No
have to
worries.
take off for
Okay,
dinner
thank
in
you.
a little bit. but-
It's been 2 hours 15, and we do try to keep these things to 2 hours. So
Okay,
thank you
yeah.
very much, Gert, for joining us for the first time. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you will like to come back again.
Oh,
And,
definitely. Appreciate you having me.
We're normally on a little earlier.
Yeah, it's good
so we're
meeting
on
you.
it.
You as well.
When we start at, is it 7 Central Time? Is that when we started today, Xbox?
Yep.
Yeah, so we
7,
start
yeah.
at 7 Central Time. And obviously to those in the chat, Lucky, you're always welcome to join. Halsey, we'd love to have you on and have your input. That would be amazing. Geo Sam, of course, you can come in anytime you like. Spooky, obviously you're welcome to come on, Tux. We'll be doing the same thing again next week on a different topic. And if you want to turn up at 7 Central Time, then you'd be more than welcome to join us. So yeah, please just say something in chat and I will send you a link, no problem. Other than that, thank you everybody. But especially, of course, I want to thank me for having having all of these thoughts, because they've been very interesting.
I want to thank me too.
So you can't thank you. I can only thank you, or me, I should say. I can only thank me. Only one of us can thank one of us. So there we go. Are we a Jimi Hendrix experience? I wish. If solipsism were true, then I'd be thrilled, because I would literally be Jimi Hendrix, which has always been a dream of mine. So I'm gonna play you out with a fantastic outro made for me by the wonderful Wild Eden. Bless her, and thank you very much to everybody that's come, and we will see you on the next one.
More carrots. Don't tear it. More carrots. Where's Garrett?
Vegetables. Vegetables.
You come from the west side. The left side. The right brain drives me